Resilience in the face of discrimination. There was a young black woman who went by the name Naomi. She lived in New York, with all of its high skyscrapers and bustling city streets. She was 24 years old, resolute, and anxious to get started on her professional life. She had submitted her resume to a large number of employers, but each rejection felt like a blow to the stomach. She was fortunate enough to obtain an interview at a famous corporation one day. Naomi showed up for the interview in her most polished and professional outfit, ready to make a good impression. She was seated in the chair that faced the interviewer, who was an elderly white male. During the course of the interview, Naomi was asked a question by the interviewer that was obviously intended to be insulting and to provoke racial tension. With a tone that was both doubtful and disbelieving, he questioned me, "Where did you learn to speak so well?" Naomi understood that he was suggesting that people of African descent are incapable of articulating their thoughts in an appropriate or eloquent manner. The remark hit Naomi like a ton of bricks. Someone was casting doubt on her capabilities due solely to the color of her skin, despite the fact that she had dedicated her whole life to challenging prejudices and preconceptions that white people hold about black people. But Naomi was adamant that she would not let the interviewer witness her suffering. She took a few moments to compose herself, squared her shoulders, and then continued the rest of the interview in a manner that was both professional and graceful. Nevertheless, the remark remained fresh in her mind for a considerable amount of time after the interview had concluded. Naomi was aware that racism remained a prevalent problem in today's culture. Nonetheless, she never anticipated coming into contact with it in such an overt and cruel manner during the course of a job interview. It was a jarring reminder that people of color are not always treated equally, especially in the professional world. Naomi refused to allow herself to be defeated by the circumstances of her situation, despite the sadness and despair she felt. She took it as a challenge to show herself and the rest of the world that she was more than capable of attaining her objectives, despite the obstacles that society attempted to set in her path. She used this as incentive to work even more diligently. Naomi did not allow herself to be defined by the interview, even after some time had passed. She put forth a lot of effort, launched her own company, and eventually became a very successful businesswoman. One day, for reasons unknown, she was forced to interact with the same interviewer again. He sat uneasily across from her, twitching his tie as he tried to calm his nerves. Naomi recognized him right away, and she couldn't help but think back to the day when he had insulted her and put her down. She could have harbored resentment, but she chose to be the better person and rise above the situation. "Hello," murmured Naomi as she extended her hand to shake. "It was wonderful to catch up with you." The amazement on the face of the elderly man was clear to see. He took her hand with some trepidation. Naomi remarked, "I know we didn't get off to the best start years ago, but I want to give you a second chance." "I know we didn't get off to the best start years ago." The man regarded her with astonishment as he stared at her. He questioned her by asking, "What do you mean?" Naomi turned her attention to the elderly guy seated in front of her and saw that his expression was one of unease and guilt. Her mind was inundated with memories of that day, the day when she had to deal with prejudice during the interview. She felt as though she had been transported back in time. She inhaled deeply before continuing, "I remember our interview from years ago, and how you questioned where I learned to speak so well." I took a moment to collect her thoughts before continuing. "You made me feel insignificant, as if the achievements I've had weren't worth anything because of the color of my skin." The man moved uncomfortably in his seat and had a pessimistic expression on his face. Naomi said, "But I'm not here to hold a grudge. I would like to offer you a second opportunity. There is a position open at my company, and I would like for you to submit an application for it. Even if you may have looked down on me because of my race in the past, I believe in forgiveness and in giving people a second chance." The elderly man raised his eyes to gaze at Naomi, and tears began to well up in his eyes. "I'm so sorry," was all he could say in response. "I was incorrect, and I apologize for the manner in which I dealt with you. You weren't given an opportunity to prove yourself because I let my prejudices get in the way." Naomi nodded, recognizing his regret. "It's okay," she said to me. "Let's move on and make a change for the better," you suggested. The man thanked the woman in such a heartfelt manner that it brought tears to his eyes. When he had least expected it, Naomi had extended her generosity to him. And with that, Naomi gave the elderly guy the job application, providing him with the chance to start over and gain wisdom from his previous blunders. It was a time for healing, forgiving one another, and looking forward to a brighter future. Naomi couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come as she sat in her office. She couldn't help but think about how far she had come. She had made the most of a traumatic situation by using it as a chance to show love and generosity to others. She had demonstrated to the entire world that no matter how badly someone treated her, she could always handle the situation with poise and dignity. This is getting out of control, but Naomi's tale is one of overcoming obstacles and showing compassion. She took a challenging circumstance and fashioned it into something lovely with her own hands. The fact that she was willing to aid someone who had harmed her in the past is evidence of the strength of her character. It demonstrates that showing love and forgiveness to others is always the best way to go forward. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to our channel to support our work.